A bewildering incident would transpire on the outskirts of Cardiff, which would in time go on to become known as the Welsh Roswell incident. From being a quiet and peaceful town to people seeing something unseemingly disturbing, they kept saying it was a military presence that was part of a pre-arranged exercise. Did the British military genuinely ambush a UFO in the Welsh valleys, or was this instead a misunderstanding of more earthly events? I bring to your screen the mysterious Pentyrch accident. Pentyrch is a small village located approximately 8 miles outside of the Welsh capital city of Cardiff. Evidence of human inhabitation has been found at Pentyrch, dating back as far as the Neolithic period. From the 1600s on, coal mining became a large export in the area, helping to develop the once rural farming land into a thriving small village. Overlooking Pentyrch is Garth Mountain. On the top of Garth Mountain, there are 4 burial mounds dating back to the Bronze Age. That's 3,300 BC. This indeed provides stunning views of the surrounding area, but despite its humble history, in 2016, it was forced into the spotlight when residents of Pentyrch and the surrounding areas noticed a high presence of military personnel. In a police control room office, the supervisor slipped back into the main office after finishing his cigarette break, making his way across the sprawling space toward his computer. Logging back into the system, he scanned through the calls from the last 10 minutes. Interestingly, to his relief, the call handlers hadn't dealt with anything too contentious during his brief absence. The listed incidents on screen were typical for a Friday late shift: assaults, anti-social behavior in the city center, and a couple of domestic cases. Convinced that there was nothing particularly noteworthy to pass on to his night shift counterpart, the supervisor decided to treat himself to one last cup of coffee before the end of his shift. However, he hadn't been in the kitchen for long when he was alerted to something weird. One of the controllers stuck his head around the door, announcing a number of calls reporting bizarre activity to the northwest of the city. Several residents complained about strange lights in the night sky, disturbing their livestock, causing alarm. Before we move further, please subscribe to our channel, where we bring to you scary and horror stories. If you are brave enough, don't forget to click on the like button and comment. Let us know what you think about this video. The supervisor reassured the operator, suggesting it was likely standard air traffic or possibly aircraft from the nearby St. Athan military base. Finishing his drink, the supervisor headed back to his screen. Before crossing the room, a staff member shouted that more aircraft were now being reported. Surprisingly, low-flying helicopters and military transports were seen in high numbers. Hurrying back to his desk, the perplexed supervisor quickly called the communications room at St. Athan to inquire about a possible military exercise. After being placed on hold by an operator, he scanned through his emails from the previous week, finding nothing related to the reported events. Checking his watch, it was just after 2 a.m., an odd time for an exercise, especially over residential areas. After waiting some time and with further bizarre reports filtering in, a calm voice came on the line. The unknown speaker lightly informed the supervisor that the increased military presence was part of a pre-arranged exercise. Over the next hour, calls to the police switchboard became increasingly bizarre. Reports included armed soldiers in pursuit of something, a massive pyramid-shaped object with red lights hovering near a home, and an explosion in nearby woods, followed by an Apache helicopter crash. Throughout the evening, the police control room struggled to cope with the volume of reports, leading to frantic calls to military counterparts, always receiving the same response that everything was pre-planned and normalcy would return by the following morning. However, the strange events around the village of Pentyrch that evening of February 26, 2016 would not go unnoticed by the media. Several articles featuring witness accounts and responses from the police and Ministry of Defense were published on local news websites. As part of a more comprehensive investigation of UFO encounters in the United Kingdom, national news sources reported on the occurrence and provided detailed descriptions from witnesses. Despite this, a number of inhabitants of Pentyrch had the impression that their voices were being deliberately muffled and that their narratives were distorted in order to discredit their reports. It was clear that there was something out of the ordinary in the sky over the region because of the sheer number of calls that were received by the police control room. When the locals called the authorities, they were very certain that what they had seen was not anything that could have happened on this planet. One of the first callers, Mike Henberry, reported seeing pulsating red spheres forming a triangle descending from the clouds. followed by a large pyramid-like object emitting smaller red and green orbs. Kaz Clark, the main witness, had noticed military planes circling the area for days leading up to the incident. She observed a vivid crimson light descending, breaking into smaller red orbs and forming a triangular pattern, leading to the appearance of a massive pyramid-shaped craft with red lights. The pyramid rotated, ejecting a bright green object while lightning bolts from the lower corner struck the ground. The Hercules and C-17 Globemaster military transport planes joined the military jets that were flying overhead, and they discharged additional orbs as they circled overhead. Those who had just arrived made a circuit around the pyramid in an effort to encircle it. In addition to the disappearance of the red lights, the bigger ship vanished, and the green object, which was smaller, sped away. A greater amount of activity was observed in the sky over Pentyrch, including the pursuit of unknown objects by Apache gunships. When Clark and her friend went into the area where the pyramid was hovering, they did not find any tangible proof of its presence. Subsequently, they could hear an explosion in the distance coming from the direction of the military aircraft that was pursuing the green object. The following morning, witnesses reported hearing explosions from the skies and the ground near Lantricent Forest, known locally as Smilog Woods. Clark investigated the forest, finding a debris field with shattered trees, unusual snowfall limited to the damaged area, and a field where plant life appeared dead. Military personnel performed training exercises on the outskirts of Pentyrch, providing conflicting reasons to local residents for their presence. Unexplained road closures followed, supposedly due to an overturned truck. Clark sought evidence to validate her account, using the Freedom of Information Act to obtain data supporting her claims. Witnesses from Port Talbot and Swansea reported similar sightings, and despite their efforts, the authorities dismissed the findings as a military training exercise. The Pentyrch incident stood out due to the sheer number of people involved. Despite arguments for the incident being a pre-arranged military exercise, it seemed out of character for the British Armed Forces. Commonalities in local residents' testimonies made their stories compelling, highlighting the unplanned and unexpected nature of the event. Kaz Clark remained determined to uncover the truth, submitting Freedom of Information requests and passing polygraph tests. Threats against her and her family followed, but she persisted in her quest for answers. Their suggestions that the witnesses were mistaken or confused, attributing the intent to mass hysteria and attention-seeking. The Ministry of Defense described Operation Chameleon as a military training exercise that took place around the time of the incident, but alleged discrepancies raised doubts about the official account. There were red and green objects that were characterized as drop zone markers by witnesses, and lines of lights were observed as falling paratroopers. It was even argued that there was a cover-up because of the date and location of Operation Chameleon, the lack of information distribution, the late issuing of NOTAM, and the absence of soldiers or parachutes in the supposed drop zone. Despite the military's continued denial of the reported sighting, witnesses insisted that they saw a real physical craft, casting doubt on the official explanation. Kaz Clark's persistence and the community's disturbance during the incident added complexity to the story, leaving everyone with an open question: was it a military exercise? Or was it an unexplained event in the skies over Pentyrch? Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. Now, if you think this video isn't scary, you can go check out the next one on your screen. Horrific Tinder matches, gone horribly wrong. This video will send chill vibes down your spine. Go watch it now if you are brave enough.